This is one of my favorite things at the San Diego Air and Space Museum. This graphic and a matching graphic a few yards away were both done by a wonderful scholar named Ed Leiser. Ed Leiser did sign this, but at the time, we didn't know it. That's his name up here, Ed Leiser. This doesn't appear on the original at all. You have to blow up the original to this big for his name to pop out. So I watched Mr. Leiser do one of these two panels. He drew these like a computer printer prints a photograph. He started with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of typing paper in the middle of his desk. And over at this end, he put some tick marks, just a couple tick marks. And then in front of my eyes while he did it, a figure appeared out of the tick marks. And he started working his way across the page. Over a period of months, without any pictures in front of him, he had a mental image. What would it be like if the top aces of World War I had actually met, regardless of what team they were on, if they were all standing in front of the same photographer? So with that as his starting point and a single pen on a piece of paper, he started doing tick marks. Tick, 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 until the page filled in front of me. It took a long time. He was meticulous. These are the people that if you were reading a newspaper during the war years of 1914 to 1918, these are the names that would jump off the front page at you. So starting with the left, he put his favorite pilot. This is Captain Eddie Rickenbacker, a man that was instrumental in us to win 2 wars. One of my favorite stories to talk about is this man, Ernst Udet. I consider him the best German pilot of World War I. Normally that credit goes to the Red Baron. The Red Baron was shot down twice in the war. This man got 64 victories without getting bullet holes in his plane. Now this is a giant of a man. In France, this is the top aviator of all time. This is Georges Guynemer. And you can go to just about any town in France, even today, and you'll find a street named after him. Rue de Guynemer is everywhere. So that's who's filling in these panels. The last guy on here that I'd really like to talk about, Mr. Nungesser was struck in the face by an exploding bullet. His cheek was blown out. It didn't stop him. This man crawled out the window of the hospital, took a car, and went back to his squadron. He was one of the gentlemen that made it a goal of being the first solo across the Atlantic. He came up with a plane called the White Gull, and he took off across the Atlantic. On the other side of the Atlantic, all of America was waiting. He never landed. We don't have any idea where he came to Earth. So on that night, when this man lost his life in the attempt, Lindbergh told the assembled people around him, I have to go. If I don't try across, and I know I will make it, I know my aircraft is capable, more men will die in the attempt. He goes, I can't have that on my conscience because I know I can make it. So quite literally, the reason Lindbergh crossed the ocean when he did is because this friend of his had fallen in the attempt. So this is Ed Leiser's second panel, and he started this one with arguably the best pilot of the war. This is the Red Baron. All the people on here fall into the same category as the other display, the other graphic. These are people that would jump off the front page. Beside the Red Baron, we have this man this is the World War II true anti-hero, Hermann Goering. Beside him, this is America's first fighter pilot. When Raoul Lefbury went to France, he joined the famous Lafayette Escadrille. He's the first American to come. Mr. Emmelman was such a fantastic fighter pilot. Fighter pilots today use one of their standard maneuvers, and they call it the Emmelman. Rene Fonck put in 125 victory claims during the war. He's credited with 75. Luke Air Force Base is named after an American Indian that grew up out in the desert. He wanted to prove himself as a warrior, so he signed up for World War I and went to become a fighter pilot over in France. Beside him is Mick Manick, famous for being an exceptional fighter pilot, but with only one eye. Beside him, a really fun story from the war. What he's most famous for, besides being an outstanding fighter pilot, he never had a pilot lesson. He was extremely successful during the war. And I think he really typifies the fighting spirit of most of the people that my boss decided to put on these panels.